Hey,
What's
welcome,
up, good peoples?
welcome.
What's up?
Welcome to this relationship
Thursday.
Thursday. Welcome, guys. We have been looking forward to coming and chatting, whether you are watching us live on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, wherever you find yourself. What's up? What's going on? I'm not going to say who I am.
Nah, this right here is my.
I'm about to introduce
I'm gonna
you.
introduce you first.
I see you want
This
to get
right
in
here
front of
is
me.
my delectable,
uh,
um,
what else?
my fantastic and wonderful. Why you look like that when I say delectable?
I don't know, because you always say something like edible or something. I don't know. It's always a little extra. But I appreciate that. I do.
This is my wife, y'all.
Cold though.
You cold?
Mm.
Really?
I'm going to get hot in a second. All right, yeah. And this is my husband, Ayize, and we are the co-founders of blackloveandmarriage.com and therapyforblackfolks.org, and we are really happy to be with you. Tonight we are focusing in on relationships, right? What's up, Jessica? We see you, Catrice. And we see you over there on Instagram. Wherever you are watching from, just, excuse me, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from.
Yeah, let us know
where you're representing from. Who are you representing for? Let us know this evening. But tonight we are going to talk a little bit about going into the unknown as a couple, going into the unknown and experiencing some different things, some new things, having some new horizons in your relationship, and how oftentimes we don't take the opportunities that are before us. We don't take the risks. We don't do none of that because we just don't like the unknown as individuals and as human beings. So we're going to talk about that a little bit just for a smidget to get started, and then we're going to answer your questions. So some of you sent in questions, and you sent it in to blackloveandmarriage.com/anonymous question. No S at the end. Again, blackloveandmarriage.com/anonymous question. Some of you just message us on social media, and we have your questions, and we're going to answer them tonight because we told y'all we was. So
yeah, and on Instagram, we had to get a tutorial from our son, but on Instagram, I think
why
what
you
y'all
had to
can
tell
do.
on us that we had to get a tutorial?
I think that what
You
y'all
had
can
to
do
get a
is
tutorial.
drop your question on IG Live, and then we'll be able to see it, and then from there we'll be able to answer the question. So
I want to
again,
perpetrate like I know how to do it.
I know, stop fake. You ain't got fake.
You know what I'm
Keep it
saying?
real. Keep
I'm
it
just
100.
perpetrating like I know it. I know how to do it.
Yeah,
No.
that's not good.
We in that 40 and over group, so you know what that mean. We be on Facebook for the old people.
So drop y'all questions if y'all have them. Again, we're going to go ahead and start to answer some of these questions, but first and foremost, baby, you said something about going into the unknown. So speak on that, please.
I want to talk about this because I think it applies to a lot of folks. I think it applies to so many relationships, and I just want to share a little quick story from us and from our own relationship. This recent.
Somebody said they saw his video a few minutes ago.
So what?
Asante's video. Him trying to give a tutorial.
Give a tutorial.
he was like, I mean, do you want me to press live? You want me to go live and show you? You were like, yeah, go ahead and do it.
And then you do this. So look, my husband and I, for those who may not know, were on the last episode of Black Love on the Oprah Winfrey Network, and that episode was talking about. It was called. What was it called? Something about rhythm. Something about rhythm.
Finding your rhythm.
Why don't you let that person in? Finding your rhythm in your relationship, but it was really talking about compromise. It was looking at the art of compromise, unmet expectations, the marriage or the relationship not being exactly what you thought it would be, right, and dealing with some of those disconnects and that tension and that kind of thing. And oftentimes, so let me just say this. So what came up for me, let me just tell you, that the producers and the director hit us up. I think having seen us on social media and was like, hey, we'd love to have you guys come on the show and to interview you. We were like, oh, cool. We had been hearing about this show, and we had seen it, a few times, but we had heard about it a lot as well. And so they were great. They are great. They're an awesome couple, out here doing the good work, showing our relationships in like real life, what folks deal with and in real relationships. And so it was a great opportunity. But let me tell you something. Y'all just saw a little smidget, you know what I mean, of what we actually talked about.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't know what was going to go in there because I was in there one point I was crying and
I was crying too. Yeah, we both
doing
were
all that.
crying during the taping.
Going back, right, and looking back in our history and looking at some of the things that we have come over, and some of the things that we've come through. And when it was all said and done, I swear it felt like I had been through a therapy session myself. I was like, "Whoa, I'm tired. I'm exhausted." It's like when you go and do some good work, you like your eyes red, like, "Okay, yeah, I feel better, but but I'm tired and I need to go lay down, right?" And so I say that to say this. Afterwards, leading up into, because that was some months ago, leading up into the episode coming out, I had anxiety. My husband and I talked about some of the stuff that was shared, and looking back at some of the things that we were dealing with early on in our relationship, and we, there was tension, and some of that stuff came up, and there was I don't want to say disconnect, but there was friction. There was friction, and I'm sharing that because we would have not experienced the friction of even kind of like bringing up old stuff and having to answer questions, which then prompted other conversations later on between the two of us. We wouldn't have even gotten the opportunity to do that, or been prompted to do that, or been challenged to do that if we hadn't taken the opportunity to go and say, "Yeah, we'll come and talk, and we'll come and share a little bit about ourselves, and we don't even know what you're going to ask or what's going to come out of that." My point is that so often we as individuals, as couples, we're not willing to take the risk to ask the questions that we need to ask of our partners, to have the conversations that we need to have, to be exposed a little bit, to share a little bit, to be rubbed the wrong way, to go back and get some feelings in my spirit that was from way back. We've been married for 18 years. We've been together for a total of 25. But to still have some of that stuff kind of rise to the surface, right? We don't want to deal with none of that. We don't want to bring none of that stuff up. And all I want to say to you is what I got from that. I got a lot from the whole experience because it was a beautiful experience. But a big part of it for me was recognizing that it's okay to go into the unknown. That it's okay to open up spaces and places that you don't never really open up, that you don't want to, that you're not really sure about. You understand what I'm saying? It's okay to do that. And when you do it, there's a blessing in store. There is more to the growth and to the intimacy and to the knowing that I was able to even access and get into with my husband in terms of who you are today when we talk about some of those things versus who we were when we was youngins. You know what I'm saying? So we just gotta be open, y'all. We gotta be willing to have some conversations and do some new things, have some new experiences. Stop saying no, stop ignoring, stop pretending that you don't even know what your partner's talking about when you know exactly what they're talking about. Right?
Yeah.
And just take a risk. No matter how this resonates with you in whatever way, do something new, and you will be blessed for it. That's my belief.
Yeah, somebody made a comment on YouTube saying,
"Oh, I love you."
somebody said you look younger than you did.
You guys look
10
younger than
years
you
ago.
did 10 years ago. Look at you.
That makes me feel good.
You know what? You're our best friend.
Somebody also said, on YouTube, let them know whether or not, we're sounding okay. Somebody said it looks like they're watching an Asian movie where our mouths aren't synchronized.
It's always something on YouTube. Y'all just need to come on over to the Facebook group.
Yeah, come to the Facebook group.
You know what I'm saying? Or Instagram or something.
So what my wife is saying is absolutely true. And my experience was similar to hers in terms of, why you always got, like, where you going?
Make it
My experience was similar to hers where I too was a little bit nervous about, just what the experience was going to bring about, what it was going to dig up, what it was going to lift up, and how we were going to address whatever questions came our way. But I was open. And I was willing to experience the unknown. I mean, real talk, y'all. The fact that we're even living where we're living right now is a testament to being open to the unknown. And so many of you all may not know our story, but within the course of a 2-month time period, we moved from the East Coast to the West Coast. And I'm not just saying my wife and I moved from the East Coast to the West Coast. My wife and I and our 5 children made a move and a transition from the East Coast to the West Coast, y'all, all within a span of 2 months. Not only did we have to do that, but we had to clear out our house, find some tenants to put in the house, all within the course of 2 months, y'all.
Find a space to live.
And then find a space to live, yes. Yes, and so again, we were moving in faith, moving in the unknown, and as a result, we ended up being in the space that we're at right now, which then positioned us to have the opportunity to even be on Black Love. A couple of months after we came out here, again, they hit us up and, asked us to be on the show. So you got to be open and willing to step into the unknown. You know, when you do that, you never know what opportunities may come your way.
I want to get my French fries. Okay.
I thought you was getting a fan.
I got distracted. Okay.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and answer some of these questions, y'all. And again, if you're on IG or Facebook in our Blam group, please go ahead and drop.
And let me just say this on Facebook. If you send me a message.
Somebody said, now she's eating fries. I take it back.
Yeah. Don't say that. Look, but what am I gonna say? You can message me on Facebook if you're trying to drop something, because if you're trying to do it in the comments, sometimes the comments be suspect. All right. So So the first question that we are going to answer, this person just simply said, trust. How do you rebuild it when it's been broken? How do you?
So you halfway on the frame. Let me move that.
That's because I'm not about to be doing like this the whole time. That's because of him, y'all.
It ain't because of me.
You set it up. How do you receive it when you were the one that was hurt? How do you receive it when you were the one that was hurt? I guess, just really open up your heart again to being, hey Sham, and Trina, hey, to what am I trying to say? To trust.
Mm-hmm.
And so the piece that I will say is this: there is no scientific method, but I do think that people first and foremost need to be clear about your role when it comes to broken trust and your partner's role. You all have very specific roles with specific tasks and responsibilities attached to those roles, particularly if trust has been broken. Trust can be broken, and betrayal can happen in more ways than one. It can happen because of something like infidelity. It can happen because of financial betrayal, because you don't defend me, with your mama and them. It can happen for any number of reasons, right? Like, you're never where you say you are. You don't follow through. You say you doing this, right? But I ain't seen no results of it yet. It can be any number of things. And I think the thing that people have to remember is that we get kind of caught up in our feelings, but we don't recognize what our roles are, what our tasks are. And the person who has been hurt and has been betrayed or feels as though they cannot trust, hey, see if it say homies. So the person who feels that they've been hurt or have been betrayed, right? You have a responsibility to make sure that you get your message across, that you pay attention to really making sure that the other person hears you. Because a lot of times the person who's done the hurting just don't understand it fully. They're trying to get over it and get beyond it and move it on. And you've got to be willing to do for yourself what you need to do for yourself. Because oftentimes we're in our feelings and we kind of seething because we want our partner to come and rescue us and get us and do what they're supposed to do. And baby, I'm so sorry and da-da. And that may not always be the case. That's a fairy tale. That's not real life. That is not real life. I got an example, but I ain't gonna go there. So just from early on in our marriage with provision, we almost said provision. That was broken trust, and he's an entrepreneur, right? Serial entrepreneur. We're entrepreneurs. That's why I'm attracted to him. A big part of it, right? But I love that about him. That's who I am. But when we start having them babies, I was like, you need to, get up out here in these streets and figure out something else. Not in the streets, no, but go and apply for some jobs, right? And no. But he wasn't there, right? And we were much younger, right? I mean, this is so many years ago, right? In our early stages of marriage when our kids were little. And so, that was betrayal. My heart was hurting. I was upset, right? And so once we were able to work through that, which was a process. It was a process because he was not like, oh, my bad. Yeah, he was like, everything I'm doing out here is for us. I'm doing it for you.
Man, that was my mindset. That was my philosophy. Like, when I hit, it's going to hit big and everybody's going to be taken care of.
I don't know why you always say like he was playing a lottery every day. So
it just felt like, so the life of an entrepreneur is one where you are taking risks.
Yeah.
So I was more risk inclined than my wife was at that particular time in our life. And I was game.
No. Make the corrections that you need to make. You weren't more risk inclined. I didn't want to be in a cardboard box in the street with 4 kids. You know what I'm saying? A risk inclined, no. Like, we need to pay the bills on this job. I jazz that joint up like, no. I'm a risk inclined, no. I just happen to like to, have a bed and, eat some food every day. At least one meal. Talking about risk inclined out this joint. So yeah, no, he's sicing it a little bit. But the point is that my role was to express what it is that was going on for me. That this is a betrayal betrayal. This is not okay. I am hurt. I feel like you don't have my back. I feel alone in this. It's not okay. It's not okay. He wasn't getting it because he saw it from a different perspective. I'm doing this for you. I ain't asked you to do that though, right? And so my job was to make sure I put it forward, right? And then I kept it there. We eventually started going to counseling. And his job was to, first of all, get it, because it took a while, right? It took a while. But then the question that the betrayer, right? I hate these labels, but it is what it is, has to ask themselves is, is what I'm doing helping my spouse or my partner to heal in whatever the area is? Is this what I'm doing right now helping them to heal? And you have to be overly conscious of it, because the onus is on you as the person who has come outside of some kind of boundary or parameters to make sure you create a safe space for healing. So, whatever that is, yes, trust can be built, right? You can allow for it to be built again, but you do have to have, hey, Sonia, you do have to have two people who know their roles and who know their parts and who know their places. Yeah, and you all can deal with the friction of that, because there will be friction. But if I know what I'm supposed to be doing and he knows what he's supposed to be doing to rebuild it, then we can talk about it, and we will both be able to identify it together when we fall off. Like, you know what I'm saying? We know where we're supposed to be. So I know when I'm off and you know when you're off. And I think that's really what it is at the end of the day. I do want to say something real quick. Sometimes we hold on to stuff for way too long. And some of that stuff has nothing to do, and oftentimes ain't got nothing to do with the person did. You already brought that mess to the relationship. And so now they done did something. They done kicked up all your stuff. So now the relationship is suffering from what has happened, right? And also what had happened. And so we also have to be able to have some insight about that. Pay attention to it. I mean, it is what it is. It's like, well, you already know I had that issue, so now you about to suffer, right? That's how people feel, but you do have to go do some personal work so that y'all don't have to sit up under the weight, not just your partner, but you, both of y'all. You don't have to sit up under the weight of some of that old baggage.
Yeah, I mean, so really to sum it up, I think that what my wife is essentially saying is that you got to make room for each other in their process. One thing that we often see, and we're getting a bunch of couples, which is really interesting, we're getting a bunch of couples that come to us for relationship coaching and even individual coaching. And they're coming to us based off of the fact that they're struggling in this particular area. So a lot of people are dealing with infidelity. And so you would think that if people are cooped up in the house, how is it that people are still out here cheating? And the reality is that people are finding a way.
Rona streets.
Yeah, people are out here in these Rona streets finding a way and doing what they do. The thing that you can't get away from is that if you had an itch before we entered into COVID-19, that itch ain't go nowhere. You may have gotten a little bit more sophisticated about scratching it, but you still had to scratch it. And so again, what's important is that you do your work. You do your work to tend to the underlying reason as to why you had the itch in the first place. One thing that people do is that they complain about the fact that, again, I don't understand why he or she is constantly in a state of stress, always bringing up things, always belaboring the point and trying to make sure that, just always in my ear complaining about this and trying to control every single dynamic when it comes to us overcoming infidelity. The thing that people have a hard time understanding, especially if you're the one that's guilty of cheating, many people have a hard time with dealing with intrusive thoughts. So the person who has been hurt by the betrayer, a lot of times they're having these intrusive thoughts that come in, and they're not necessarily, inviting them, but they're just entering into their atmosphere, entering into their space, and they're having difficulty dealing with those things emotionally. So they could be triggered by something that you do. They could be triggered by a song that they hear. They could be triggered by an aroma. They could be triggered by a number of different things, but these intrusive thoughts come, which keeps the pain of the infidelity right at the forefront of their mind. And so you might be like, damn, well, it was like a week, 2 weeks, a month, 6 months ago when I did this, get over it.
A week ago, yeah. I hope you did.
Yeah, some people be like that. But no, you got these intrusive thoughts that keep coming, and people are having a hard time dealing with that. So you can get over it. Why you said, yeah, I did.
Okay. Somebody just asked this kind of a tag-on question. What if your mate is stubborn and won't bend? I'm paying for previous insecurities. What are your thoughts? They won't bend.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times the answer is in the ask. So when I say that, what I'm speaking about is, how are you approaching the subject? How are you coming to him? How are you coming to her to bring up whatever your challenges or issues may be? And so if they don't bend, sometimes the inflexibility and the stubborn space that they operate from is really just based off of them reacting to how you're initiating the engagement around the conversation. So it's been a number of times where in our relationship, my wife has come to me, and she's attempted in some situations maybe to bogart or to express that she wanted things a particular way. And in doing that, what it does is it inspires an automatic response of fight, flight, or freeze. And so what I might have a tendency to do is I might, no, I'm not going for that, or I might resist, and vice versa. So if I want to bogart and have things a particular way, my wife, she might, who you think you're talking to?
I don't talk to you like that.
No, she don't talk to me like that, but the energy, the look is like, she gave me that Kamala Harris look. Like, who I mean, she'll give it to me. Like, you might want to pump your brakes and slow down and approach me in a different way. And so, again, if your partner is stubborn, sometimes the resistance is a direct response to the way in which you're approaching the situation. So what I would highly encourage you to do is reevaluate your ask and see if you can come about it a different way.
Okay. All right. So next question. I'm just saying I don't see nothing in this daggone group, but anyway.
I went live in the group.
So look, the other day on Tuesday, we thought we was live in the group. My husband went live on my page. He was like, "Welcome to the group." We weren't even in the group. I don't see. Where y'all at? Where y'all watching us at on Facebook? Cynthia, tell us, cause if you got it wrong again, I'm gonna jump.
Nah, something is up there. If I got it wrong again, but no, I'm
all right. So look, guys. So the next question coming in. Let me read this. Okay, so this person just says, I'm usually the most positive person when it comes to dating, but these men are wearing me out. I've done so much self-work, so much therapy, and I continue to do so. Yet I can't seem to meet a guy who wants the same things that I do. I'm starting to see why the old lady lived in the shoe with her kids by herself. Any encouraging words? I'm gonna defer that one to you too.
So she just tired?
Just say any encouraging words. I don't know what you want to say about that. I mean, I guess she feels like the men are not. These men are wearing me out. Look, let me just say this real quick, and then you got something? Because I got.
No, I was reading the question.
So look, here's the thing. Whatever there is a general kind of universal principle that whatever you need to, well, you better stop. That whatever you're experiencing in your life, it's a hard one to swallow. It's a hard one to swallow. Remember that question. But whatever you are experiencing is a reflection of your inner world. Your inner world, what's going on within you. So a lot of us don't like to hear that. I personally don't like to hear that, because then if I'm frustrated, if I'm dealing with some mess and that kind of thing, what I know to be true, if I really get centered and still, is that is a perception that I'm having, and it's my inner world. That's why two people can come up in the same household, or two people can be in two different marriages with very similar dynamics and have very different experiences, because they see it and perceive it differently, because one person chooses to take offense and the other person does not. One person is able to have compassion where the other person is not able to have compassion. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there are different ways that people are experiencing and then responding to the people in their lives, which means that there's something happening on the inside of how you are looking at things, which means that if you're getting a bunch of suckers or whatever, or a bunch of people who ain't really about nothing, then I would say that you need to pay attention to where you're looking, and you need to pay. I think there are good, strong men out here, good, strong black men out here. I don't think it's easy. I know it's not easy, especially for black women, but I do think that oftentimes I remember talking to somebody a while back, and they was like, I just can't find nobody. I said, where you be going? Where you be at? What you do? How do you get out and about? And she's like, I mean, I get up every day, I go to work, come home, I, work out, then I go to sleep. I do the same thing every day except for church on Sunday. I'm like, well, then where are you expecting to find somebody? You ain't doing nothing different. So we have to examine, some of the ways that we operate, some of our unrealistic expectations. That's the two cents I have on it.
Yeah, I want to echo my wife's sentiments and say, she's absolutely right. Examine what you do, examine how you're rolling, who you're surrounding yourself with, and how you're positioning yourself. When you do that, depending upon who you're around, it gives you an opportunity to open up more, which then may make you more available. Some people are like just walking through life just so closed. They want the opportunity, but they're afraid of the opportunity. So it's like you got one hand open and then the other hand closed. So what is it that you really want? And so I think that you need to be honest about the space that you're in. And if you're willing to engage in a relationship, then you got to be willing to take a risk. And so, it's what it is to say as well is that there may be some pain that's attached to that. There may be some challenges that are associated with that. You know, any healthy relationship has been through some challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that, so y'all might say, what? If it's healthy, how has it been through some challenges? Real talk, I
They
mean,
know that.
it's, you know, through the process of going through challenges that you get to know yourself better and you get to know your partner better. And so true transparency is what brings about change. And when you really get transparent with yourself and with your partner, you're going to see some things about yourself that you ain't going to like. Your partner going to see some things about you that they don't like.
You saw some things about me you ain't
Absolutely.
like.
And you just loved everything about me, right?
No.
And so what that enables you an opportunity to do is, you know, really leaning it closer to the person that you say that you love. And if you're unwilling to do that, are you really ready for the relationship? So again, position yourself and ask yourself the question, am I really looking for it, or am I just saying that I'm looking for it, knowing that my body language, my energy, and my vibes are saying back up, I'm really not open.
That's good. That's good. Okay. Read this question. This come right up. And somebody said, are we at Aries? I'm a Leo. And
I'm a
he's a
Pisces.
Pisces. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay. Go on to read the question. And we saw another one that just came in. So we going through them. Get to them one by one. Read it.
How do I restore the trust after committing financial infidelity? I cheated my wife out of her dream of being a homeowner, and now that I'm focused on that path, she's skittish and indifferent. So we spoke a moment ago, bro, just about our story in terms of, you know, my financial betrayal and you know, how I impacted my wife and our family early on in our relationship. And I mean, the way that we were able to make amends is, number one, I had to do something different. And in me doing something different, I had to recognize that my priorities were misaligned. And the reality is that my wife, my queen, is the one who should have come first. And first and foremost, what I needed to do is take ownership of the fact that I was not doing that. Like, I did not prioritize her. And even though I was verbally expressing that, you know, yo, you're the priority, and on the surface it looked that way. And so let me be clear. So I'm the type of dude that, and you'll find a lot of brothers like this, where they'll do everything. They'll make sure the bath water is ran. They'll make sure that the wife is getting massages. They'll make sure that they get the rose petals and lay them out. They'll make sure that they're whispering sweet nothings. They'll do all of that stuff. But they're doing all of that stuff, and they're missing the unmet need. And so, you know, you're operating on the fringes, and to some degree, you're operating on the fringes because it feels comfortable to you. It feels safe. And so you're doing what is easy, relatively easy for you to do, whereas other dudes might say, yo, you putting in that work. A lot of other sisters might say, yo, your man is like handling his business. But you don't know if you're really handling your business until you ask your wife, are you meeting her unmet need? And if the answer is no, then you got some more work to do. And so in our relationship, I had to come to the realization and make amends and apologize, atone for my misdeeds, my missteps, and how I showed up irresponsibly financially as it pertained to my wife. And so the question that you're asking is, you know, I cheated her out of her dream. I mean, that's big. That's definitely big. And so, you know, you cheated her out of her dream home. So now what I would say is that in the process of restoration, don't make it about you trying to do something for her. I would say all along, she was probably wanting it to be a we thing versus a her thing. So it wasn't necessarily her dream home. She wanted it to be our dream home. Yeah. So how do you bring her back into the fold and make it a collective process versus a process where you're trying to do something, essentially swinging your balls like you might have been swinging them before? I mean, that's what it boils down to. I mean, because the decisions that you made before was based off of you swinging them. And so if you're going to say, I'm going to rectify this and I'm going to do it by swinging them some more, that's not going to sit right with her. It's not going to sit right. So how do you bring her into the fold and make her feel as though she's a part of the process and y'all are doing it, you're doing it for y'all. Y'all are doing it together versus, you know, it just being something that you want to do. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, that was good, babe. That was good. Okay, we got the next question, y'all. Next question. If you're just joining us, I am Iana. This is Ayize. And we're just doing relationship Q&A tonight on this Thursday night because some folks been asking some questions. So we said, let's just power through them. And we really want y'all to drop like your thoughts as you hear some of these things. So many of us have been through similar things. And one thing I say about married folks and people who are in committed relationships is we stay isolated in our own little stuff. We don't come together and talk about nothing. Everybody just show up looking cute, with your pictures on social media and so forth. And we don't share the normal kinds of things that we deal with, positive and challenging in our marriages and in our private spaces. So this next question is, I understand every relationship has its ups and downs. How do I move past the downs and let stuff go without holding on to fights and keeping a grudge? Yes, he is so skinny these days. And you skinny. You skinny.
I ain't skinny, but
no, you cute. You cute.
Speaking on that tip, like I was watching the Black Love. Y'all haven't seen it? Check out this past week's Black Love episode. And I'm glad that I, went through the process of working. I didn't like the way I looked in that episode.
You look fine.
I wasn't feeling the way I was looking, so I'm glad that I went through the process. And actually, the day that we recorded that episode, I posted a video on my Facebook page and Instagram page saying I'm going to running to try to lose 10 pounds in one day. I was feeling like I was overweight, so I was trying to drop 10.
You was going to try to lose 10 pounds in one day?
Before we shot, so I wasn't feeling too pleased with my appearance, but, it is.
That's WWPD.
What?
What white people do. Don't go 10 pounds in one day. That's just ridiculous. Okay, so y'all. All right, so the question was, again, I understand that every relationship has its ups and downs. How do I move past the downs and let stuff go without holding on to fights and keeping a grudge? I think that I'm qualified to answer this question because many years ago I said, y'all, that I am, and I'm definitely far recovered now because I'm nowhere near that person now, but I said I'm a recovering aggressaholic. Remember that, babe?
Yes.
I'm a recovering aggressaholic. And I'm bringing that up because if you're asking the question, how do I let go? How do I not hold on to grudges? I might be jumping out here wrong, but I think I do have a little bit of experience working with countless couples and even looking at myself. One thing my husband has taught me is that women are not more emotional than men. We can sometimes think that. They're not more emotional. We are not more emotional than men, but we express our emotions differently. We are much more able to get in touch with our emotions 9 times out of 10. Not as a rule, right? But we have more access, right? So when we're in our feelings, right? And it can be hard to let go of some things. My husband always likes to say he has a short memory. You know what I'm saying? He's over it. I'm like, I'm still feeling some type of way. And he like, hey, babe, don't talk to me. So I'm thinking, don't talk to me. I'm so mad at you, right? And lots of women can identify with that. And what I would say to you, which I know has helped me and so many others that we've worked with in coaching, is you got to be able to manage yourself. You have to be able to really manage your feelings and your emotions. It's really about self-mastery. It really doesn't have anything to do with the other person. When we hold on to things and when we let things fester and it's sitting inside of us, it doesn't have anything to do with the other person. Those are feelings that we're holding on to, that we're turning around over and over again. Again, like I said earlier, oftentimes because of some unresolved stuff from earlier on in life, childhood, whatever. Oftentimes because we can be pretty self-absorbed, or we can be very sensitive to criticism. It felt so heavy. It felt like so much when you said that, and somebody's just giving you feedback. Your partner's just making a comment. They didn't say it the right way, but it wasn't what you made it out to be, right? Like it's not that deep, but it is for you. And that kind of stuff, we just got to learn to own it. I had to learn to own some things along the way and recognize that, my husband is not really sending me that. I'm receiving it a certain way, but he ain't sending it to me that way. And if you know the intention of your partner, if you know the heart of your partner, right, then you know when you're just blown with them, but that's not really what they're sending. And that you're really not wanting it, but you're receiving it a certain way because you have unresolved stuff that needs to get worked out. And that can only be done through intentional time and energy, doing some personal work, read some books, go to coaching or counseling, whatever it is you need to do. But when it's hard for you to let go of some things, you got to acknowledge it. Just own it. Own it. And sometimes you just got to let how I am. I'm trying to work. I'm working on it. Can you just give me a minute, right? And you really have to self-soothe. And that's one of the things that we talk about a lot is self-soothing, right?
We do.
What you want to say about self-soothing? Because you love to talk about some self-soothing. You be telling everybody. So what can you do to self-soothe?
Yeah. We
do.
I do lift that up in sessions, but So let me lift this up too.
Major.
When it comes to our relationship, and this is a really important point, y'all. When you hold on to grudges for way too long, you're holding yourself back. You're holding yourself back. You're holding yourself down, and you're holding the relationship down as well. You're holding your partner down, and it's almost like you're suffocating the potential growth of your relationship. And what I would say is that when it comes to our relationship, and this is real talk, like for a long time, um, I operated and existed in a space where I was holding on.
Yeah.
I was holding on to something for way too long, and I really had to come to grips with the reality that I was hurt. But I held on to something for for over a decade. It was time. Like it was time for me to move on, time for me to heal. But I was still holding on to past hurts. And so, for those of you who don't know, our story, we had some challenges early on in our relationship, as it pertains to infidelity. When we were dating, just struggles in that particular area. So I was holding on to it, y'all. I was holding on to the hurt, I had my wife in my mind in a particular box, and I was bound emotionally, which prevented me from really fully leaning in. And it wasn't until I got to a point where I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired. Have you ever experienced a situation in your life where you're holding on to something out of quote unquote necessity for a period of time because you're using the anger to fuel you to move forward? So in one respect, it's like, okay, the anger, the frustration is pushing me and it's propelling me forward. It's helping me to get through. It's helping me to survive. But that bag becomes very heavy over time, and it starts to weigh you down. And so there was a certain point in my life where I realized that, I'm holding on to something that doesn't have any purpose anymore. Like my wife has changed. The woman that I fell in love with 25 years ago, she's changed. She was a girl way back when we were having these challenges. But yet I'm holding her to the same standard? Like, no, she's a different person now. And when I made the decision to just let it go, it was so healing. So healing. It allowed me to really release and just feel free. It's almost as if I was addicted to a particular narrative because, it's what has defined me, defined us through my lens for an extended period of time. But it was unnecessary. I unnecessarily held on to it for way too long. And so what I would say is that if you know that you're holding on to something for too long, just let it go. Let it go, move on, and start fresh. It's so healing when you do that. So liberating.
That's good. That was liberating to hear you talk about that.
All right, we got another question.
Okay, another question.
My husband and I have been separated for a year and a half. Now he wants reconciliation. What steps should be taken for successful reconnection? What steps should be taken for a successful reconnection?
What does it say again?
They've been separated for a year and a half. Now the husband wants reconciliation. What steps can be taken for successful reconnection? First and foremost,
go to counseling, coaching.
Yeah. Come holler at us for relationship coaching or individual coaching. But what I would also say too is that some serious conversations need to be had. Real talk. What led to you all being separated for a year and a half? What lessons were learned during that time period? What lessons were learned during that time period as evidenced by what? And so, how has he grown? How have you grown? And the reality is that once you all commence engaging in relationship again, you're going to start to see certain things that may possibly be a trigger. So what's really important is that you have somebody to support you through that process as you all attempt to reconnect. Because again, once y'all start to reconnect, you're going to start saying some things. Like, he's been by himself. At least I think. You've been by yourself, at least I think, for a year and a half. And so y'all developed different ways of negotiating your own individual lives. And so now you're talking about blending that thing back together. And some problems may be on the horizon, but it's nothing that can't be tackled. But you got to be willing. That's real. They separate, but we don't know the details of the situation. But if you separated for a reason, and you all have done your individual work, you haven't done your work together.
Yes, and I'm telling you, so many folks. It's so easy. Don't click out of that. I was going to read that.
Oh,
Why did you click out of that?
my bad.
There's so many folks who they like just want to like get just want things to be back to the way they were,
Mm.
and I just want to say a word on the way things were. That as much as you may miss some of how things were in a particular area in your relationship, or how things used to feel, or how connected you were, or whatever it was, or it is that comes up for you, I promise you there's another the way things can be over the other side. But you have to allow yourself to go through the process of actually uprooting the real funky stuff. And too many of us, we let some disruption happen. We're upset about it, but you don't actually really deal with the root of cause of the issue. You don't actually really tell your partner exactly how you feel, allow them to give you feedback, figure out where do we go off and wrong, let's figure out how to rebuild this thing so that you can have that to stand on, and it takes you higher. You just kind of, get upset, it kind of blows up, it sizzles and, minimizes a little bit, and then you just let it go. And that's not helpful, y'all. It does not aid in true, real healing. It really doesn't. Okay? All right, so that's all I want to say on that. You have another? Oh, that's
Yeah, we got another
somebody
question.
was just saying. Oh,
So somebody says that I made a sexual statement to my sister-in-law 3.5 years ago in the midst of drinking. I let my husband know what was said, but he has been holding it against me all these years. He's just now letting up.
so that's a part of the process.
Yeah.
It's
Mm-hmm.
a part of the process. So it can be rough. It can be
Mm-hmm.
rough. But the question is, are you all actually, whether it's you guys or whomever is listening, apply this to your own situation. Are you asking the questions that need to be asked? Allowing for the transparency to be there, allowing your partner to just be who they are, and take in what they're saying to you, and be honest with them about how you're feeling. A lot of us don't do that. We just don't.
I'm curious
Or
to know what was
we
said.
do parts of it. Why are you curious to know what was it? She
I'm,
said a sexual statement. That's all you
so
need
I'm
to
not sure
know.
whether or not she was talking about him, or I don't know. Like, it's his
She
sister.
said, I made a sexual statement to my sister in
So
law.
his sister.
Yes, she maybe like came on to his sister. Oh yeah, ooh.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
Right?
deep. That's deep. I didn't catch that part.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Reading is fundamental.
so yeah, so it's a lot. It's a lot. Um, all right. Any other questions? I think
Yeah, I saw another.
it's not. Oh, okay.
Actually, no, I didn't. I thought I did. No, I did. I did actually. Let me find it.
Really? Are you saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, y'all. What are your thoughts, guys? What's coming up? I'm just curious to know what's coming up for folks as we go through these questions tonight. Any
I
themes?
got
I'm
one.
always looking for themes. So while he's getting ready to share the next question, but what themes? As in THEMES? What's coming through? What's the theme that's coming through? Because depending on who you are, you'll get something different. And I'm curious because these are the takeaways that we all should be really pulling in and paying attention to, and we can apply for our own lives, our own relationships.
So the
Drop it
next
in the
question
comments. Themes.
is my spouse has mentioned that we lost touch of each other after/during our first pregnancy. It's been downhill from there. How do you build on a relationship that both parties have felt ignored in the relationship? I often wonder, are we in it for the right reasons, or if we just looking, or if we're just holding on because we are comfortable, even with all the drama? It's been a tit for tat type of thing for me. If I don't feel the love, I become cold and uncaring. Tit for tat type of thing. If I don't feel the love, I become cold and uncaring. That whole pregnancy piece is mean, y'all.
She said it was downhill since after our first pregnancy. So there's been some other pregnancies. It's been downhill since then.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, the I remember when I think it was your second pregnancy, and I was kind of like feeling like I was sex starved during that time period.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was kind of parched.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a bit frustrating.
You were parched.
It was a bit like, yo, I mean, can you pay attention to me? But fellas, for those of you who are watching right now, and the fellas in here can testify to the fact that when your woman becomes pregnant, one thing I will say is that pregnant sex is some of the best sex. I will say that.
You just want to throw that in there.
Yeah, I will say that. However, after the baby is born, she got to heal, y'all. She got to heal. And during that process of healing, she's focused on bonding, not with you, Slim, not with you, but with the baby. And so you got to be able to make room for the fact that for a period of months, there's a possibility where you ain't the priority, and you might be occasionally getting some post-pregnancy booty, but again, be patient with the process. Make sure you're doing your part, reassuring her, supporting her, encouraging her, telling her she looks beautiful, rubbing those feet, rubbing that belly, kissing the belly, whatever it may be. Not after the baby. She might not want you to touch the belly. But again, you got to do your part. And so, the quicker and the better you do your part, the quicker you'll get back to what it is that you were looking for. But yeah, pregnancy is definitely a rough thing when it comes to relationships.
But the other piece I want to say, were you done? I'm sorry.
No, I wasn't done. But you can get through it. You just got to be intentional in your process.
So the other thing that was said in this question is, how do you build a relationship? How do you build a relationship where both people have felt ignored? I often wonder, are we in it for the right reasons, or are we just holding on because we're comfortable? And I just say, a lot of times we have the answers that we need. We already know. If you can type in to the thing, I wonder. You don't wonder. You have a real strong hunch that you're comfortable, that you're not in it for the right reasons. It doesn't mean that if you acknowledge that you need to just go on ahead and roll out and leave your relationship. What it means is that you need to examine your intentions, you need to examine your investment, and you need to decide, am I going to get in this relationship? Am I going to get in this marriage, put both of my feet in, or not? Because you already know that you're not, that you felt ignored, and you're probably doing some ignoring as well. So I think that you do know the answer to that, and you have a decision to make as to whether or not you're going to up the ante by saying, hey, we got to do something different. Mm-hmm. We got to do something different. Let's do this, and you will get the answer that you need in terms of knowing whether or not your partner is with you in that process or not.
And I think this ties into Tiffany's question about how do you make time for each other when you have kids. And you got to schedule some things, y'all. You got to make sure that, in the midst of you all having children, like we have 5 children. We got 4 teenagers in the house. And, 1 4-year-old. Yeah, so the teenagers pretty much are like, they do their own thing in reference to phones, computers, and schoolwork, and Netflix, and chilling, and all that type of stuff.
They're not so.
Yeah, I mean, we got to make sure that we tend to them, but because they are teenagers, it's a little bit easier. But with the 4-year-old, like this dude, he be running things. He wants you to like after this right here, y'all. Guess what I got to do? And it's because I said I was going to do it. I'm gonna be a good Baba. Baba means father in Swahili.
You're gonna carve the pumpkin.
I'm gonna carve the pumpkin. I'm gonna carve the pumpkin.
I'm so glad you did that because
he ain't gonna be watching this, I really don't feel like carving the pumpkin.
Not my lane.
I really don't want to, but I'm gonna do it because I said I was gonna do it.
You don't keep your fingers crossed. Maybe he forget.
Yeah, I'm gonna hope that he forgets. I am.
He's not.
So you got to make sure that you schedule time. So, and then later on tonight, after I carve the pumpkin, after we, eat dinner with the family, what the missus and I are going to do is probably watch something on Quibi.
Y'all know about Quibi?
Yeah.
It's annoying as I don't know what.
It is annoying, but we always find time to be intentional about getting our time. And so we'll be real quick and real clear to let the kids know, like, yo, this is our space. Back up.
Hey, tell them about that episode on Little Bill.
Yes. And actually, again, we got 4 teenagers in the house. And so some of our children can be quite demanding. I'm not going to say any specific names, but I got in trouble for that before. But some of our children can be quite demanding. And what we would do, even for our teenagers who are all up in our face, I said one day, I got this show I want y'all to watch. It was a Little Bill episode. Little Bill.
You know the cartoon?
Yeah, the cartoon Little Bill.
What's the title?
And the title is Private Time.
Private Time.
So I had to play this for my teenagers. Because I wanted them to understand that, Mommy and Baba, like, we have to have time for us. And you can't always be up in our space. And so even for our teenagers, like, we'll keep it a buck. We definitely will. Like, the kids will sometimes, closed doors closed for a reason. Knock before you enter. And yes, we do put locks on, but make sure you knock before you enter. You don't want to see us having sex. Like that's not what you want to see. And so, we'll let our teenagers know, like, if you want to walk in here with me butt naked, I mean, but you don't want to do that. But you got to keep it real with the teenagers and let them know, like,
They're
yo,
like,
mommy and
ew.
Baba are doing what grown folks do.
Thank you, Shawana. That was some nice compliments. She said, "How do y'all stay interested in each other? How do you all stay interested?" I'm gonna tell y'all, there's I'm sure there's more to it than this, but the very first thing that came to my mind when I saw that question come through, this one is the next one is yeah, I know it sounds silly. Y'all like, can y'all stop saying that? We really spend time together. We make space for each other. We make time to be together. We will get in the car and just go drive. They're like, where y'all going? 'Cause where can you go in these COVID streets, right? We're just gonna go ride, and get something and be sitting in the car talking and whatever. We really spend time. When you hang out, that's what you did when you were dating. That's what you did early on. You were just trying to get to know the person, right? You just hung out. You just like, let's go take a walk. Let's go down by over here. You ain't doing nothing, right? He said sometimes I'm getting ready to go to the 7-Eleven. Oh, I'm about to ride with you. I just go ride with him, so I can talk to him, right? So I can connect in a little bit more. So it really is about being intentional, about just really spending time so you can continually get to know your partner, continually get to know them. And I just want to say something on the kid thing. Mamas especially, we can. It's really easy for us to feel guilty. But you just have to reject the guilt. It comes up, just acknowledge up. There you are, mommy guilt. Okay, I'm gonna put you to the side, and I'm gonna go ahead and do me or be with my boo. So you just have to expect it, and don't think that don't pay attention to it. All I'm saying. I mean, for real. You have to make time for yourself and for your boo. Okay, we are getting close to the end of our time with you guys this evening, but we have another question that we want to answer before we go, and this one says, my spouse and I are in counseling the third or fourth try since we've been married. We've been married for 5 years. We're actually in the midst of finalizing our divorce, but we still reside together and we have 2 small kids. This last round of counseling has gotten me all confused. It's what he begged me for after not being serious about the earlier attempts. How do I know he's in it for the real reasons, like the right ones? I'm gonna let you speak on that.
Read it to me one more time.
She says they're in counseling. This is their 4th try. He basically wasn't serious before. They're in the final stages of divorce, but they're still in counseling. This round is getting her all confused because it's what he begged her for after not being serious about the earlier attempts. I'm assuming he's begging her for, like, I want to do this, I love you, and we can make this work. How does she know that he's in it for the real reasons, the right reasons, that he's going to really shift his behavior? Because they already been in counseling 4 times, and it wasn't working then, but now it's down to the wire, and he like, oh, snap. So, what's up?
Yeah, so, and I've spoken about this before, but there's something that often accompanies newness, that often accompanies transition and change, and that is homeostatic anxiety. And and so I'm lifting this up because when it comes to the direction that you all have been going in, you're moving down the lane of getting divorced. And it creates a whole host of feelings and maybe even some new experiences for you individually and collectively. And so the homeostatic anxiety comes into play because, you all possibly have both agreed to get divorced, but there's a fear and there's an anxiety that's attached to the newness of the reality that you all are about to experience.
Yeah.
And so what does he do? He starts to clamor, he starts to cling, he starts to essentially resist what you all have agreed to do because he wants to stay in the familiar space of being married. And the reality is that, if he was to stay in the familiar space of being married and you all remove divorce from the table, it's a very good probability and likelihood that things will revert back to the way they were before. Really, again, it's just him really running away from the fear of experiencing something new. This is a possibility. Now, it doesn't mean that, again, if he has had some type of epiphany, some type of awakening as a result of going through this process, that he really knows that he wants to be with you. That is a possibility. But the thing that we always ask couples that we work with, we always ask the question, as evidenced by what?
As evidenced by. Any social workers, mental health people in the room tonight, he goes, evidenced by.
Like,
this is the change that needs to happen.
Yeah, he's saying that he wants you. He's saying that he needs you.
Yes.
But as evidenced by what? Like, what is he doing that's different?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's another thing. So, going through a divorce is a traumatic experience. Not that my wife and I have been through one, but again, we're both licensed therapists, and we work with couples who have been in this space before. And so, as relationship coaches, we see people who experience challenges all the time. And one thing that I will say is that there are some situations in which we work with couples who know that they know that they know that they don't need to be in a relationship, but what they find themselves doing is holding on for dear life and working even harder, even though they know. And the reason why they work harder to try to, patch this thing up is because they've developed what we call a trauma bond. And so, again, divorce is a traumatic experience. If you find yourself going through that process, and what you all may be feeling is the emotions that are attached to a trauma bond of going through the experience of divorce. And so you all are afraid, you all are connected in your fear, you all are connected in your anxiety, and so what you're feeling is the confusion from the experience of possibly ending your relationship. And that's a normal thing, but don't mistake the confusion don't mistake the confusion that you feel as it pertains to these emotions around, anxiety and fear when it comes to experiencing something new, as meaning that you all are reconnecting and experiencing a new love. No, it's just not that. It's not that. Again, you have heightened emotions, heightened fear, heightened anxiety, and you all are connecting possibly around that. And so homeostatic anxiety definitely might be at play.
That's good.
And it doesn't mean that, he might not try to fix things, but again, you want to ask yourself, as evidenced by what?
As evidence.
What's up, Ladidra?
Hey, Ladidra. And then this question is kind of similar. This person said, I'm seeking some advice and was wondering if you can give me some advice. But basically, he says he and his ex-wife have been divorced going on 5 years. Now they're talking about possibly getting back together and getting remarried. How do I go about it? What advice can you give about how to move forward in the relationship and possibly back in a marriage? And I would just say, take yourselves to counseling, take yourselves to coaching, take yourselves to specialist people who really focus in on relationships. reallovehelp.com. You can come and holler at us. You can go to blackloveandmarriage.com, either of those, and learn more about what we do. But it's important to do the work. Like, you don't just, when you ain't together, y'all know how that is. It's real good. You can go back to your place, they go back to their place. But you need to do some concentrated work on figuring out, again, what had happened. We were together, then we got divorced. Because I have seen people get divorced, get back together. And they be happily ever after, right? They go through their process. But the ones who are successful are the ones who actually, they take the time to do the work.
So I think that, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, but I think that one thing that has enabled us to be where we are is, and I think I posted a video in our Facebook group about this. My wife and I, we were talking about there is no back door, there is no out.
There is no
is that when you make the decision to commit, to fully commit to your relationship, and your relationship becomes a priority, then that eliminates one level of stress that you might possibly be experiencing.
Huge.
Like some people say, like, I'm not sure if she's really in it. I'm not sure if he's gonna step out and be with somebody else. I'm not sure if his heart is in it. And again, if you all can fully commit to the relationship, if you all can make it clear, like, I'm in this thing, I'm ride or die. Like, we in this for life. We gonna figure it out. And I'm not talking about like no Will or Jada stuff. But what I will say is that with Will and Jada, we already did a video about them, but on their situation in terms of entanglements, but they made a commitment to each other. That's one of them 3 C's that we be talking about, y'all.
The 3 C's. What
commitment, connection, and courage. You gotta have those 3 C's present in your relationship. One of those 3 C's is particularly applicable to you as an individual, and that's the courage piece. You gotta have the courage to do your work. Commitment, connection, and courage. You got to be willing to expose yourself, open yourself up, lean in, and do your work. It's not easy, y'all. But again, we're a testament to the fact that you can get through 25 years together, 18 years of marriage, 5 children. It ain't always been easy, but it's definitely been worth it.
And I just want to shout out and give kudos to all the folks who also are putting in the work every day. You're staying the course. You're putting one foot in front of the other. But if you have any disconnects, some things that need to really be paid attention to, we encourage you to do your work. Stop playing, start pushing. Go to blackloveandmarriage.com, go to reallovehealth.com, and we will be back on next week Tuesday, and on next week Thursday. So Tuesday and Thursday is when we come in the group in the evening, and we will, talk on whatever the focus is. But Thursdays, we want to always incorporate a little bit of Q&A. All right, guys, that's it. That's all. We good? Y'all good? We see y'all next time. We'll see you on, we gonna see you Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday.
We see you Tuesday. All right, guys. Until then, holla at us online. Stay connected. Be intentional. The weekend is upon us, so spend some time with your sweetheart. Spend some time with yourself, right? Have some sex with your boo. Have some sex with yourself. Whatever you got to do so that you can continue to stop playing and start pushing. Bye, y'all. What would you do with the YouTube? Bye, YouTube.
Peace, y'all.